Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Jesse with ROI Safety Services. Happy Friday. We will be talking today about the best ways to save money on safety training and how to do it effectively. I'll get into what not to do and what I don't recommend, what I do recommend in terms of providing safety training for your company. Now, this is geared towards small business owners. When I say small, it's typically between less than 100, between 200 and 200 or less typically. But we have some clients that have multiple sites. So this is very much applicable if you have several hundred, but you're spread out. Bottom line is we focus on small business and we provide on-site. And the key word here is site-specific training. And so I'm going to go over some of the options for you today as a small business owner or a manager. This is really beneficial for you to listen and to definitely pay attention, take notes, and contact me if you have any questions. What I'm going to go over today is definitely going to assist you and at least give you some resources on how to implement safety training at your location. Now, if you have just one person that works for you, and maybe you're a technician, maybe you have a very niche job that you go into locations or you do certain things, you still need training. Everybody needs to have some kind of training. You may not need to document it, but it's still training. So if you have 10 people or less, OSHA says you don't need to document certain things, but I think that's ridiculous. If you have people and you're going to train, you document it. Okay, it's not that difficult to have a sign-in sheet and write down the name and the date and who you trained and have them sign it. It's just it just makes sense to do that. We have a term that we use in quality and in safety that it didn't happen if you didn't document it. So we really need to document everything that we do, especially in today's culture where in certain states people get sued and they get sued often. So the best ways to save money on safety training for your business. Now, the approach that I want to take is put aside that I'm the owner of ROI Safety Services and, we go to your site and do training. That's what we do. But I'm going to be as objective as I can about this to help the small business understand your options. Training needs to get done. There's no doubt about that. But what approach are you going to take? And all of them that I'm covering today are good approaches. Some are way, way more efficient, cost-effective, and just overall better. But there's other ways, to do training that maybe you don't need to do certain. Maybe you don't have a lot of chemicals at your site. You really have maybe just WD-40. So maybe you don't spend as much time on HAZCOM as you do if you have a paint mixing facility where you're mixing and blending custom paint or an ink shop or something like that, where your business is chemicals. So that's where I'm going to go with this. Maybe you're in construction and you only do very specific niche work. Do you need an OSHA 10 or do you need an OSHA 30? I don't know. It's a good idea, but do you need it? That's something that you can look into. There's lots of options for you. I would never, ever, ever say there's too much training. There is wasted training, no doubt. no doubt. There is a lot of wasted training, and that's one of the things that I have spent my whole career doing is weeding out the training that my clients don't need. Okay, if you need training from ROI, you're going to get training for what you need, not for any other thing that has nothing to do with your business. So that is one of the traps that we get into when we see training done online or done in a packaged program, is you spend a lot of time on stuff that doesn't apply to you. We'll talk about that too, because there is a lot of wasted energy on training that is just non added value, and that's what we really want to avoid, is the non added value training. So we're gonna investing in a safety training is crucial. You have to have something in place to comply with the regulations. There's many ways to do this. The good news is that there are effective strategies to save money and provide high quality training. And so I'm going to go over a few of those with you. The most effective ways of training. Online training, as I got into, there is some cost savings there. There is some real benefit. There really is. And the best kind of online training, no doubt, is going to be a site-specific training. So if you have the resource to develop an in-house training program that has to do with your shop in Torrance, with your equipment in Torrance, fantastic. There's nothing better than doing training online with taking pictures and maybe some video and doing some online training with some quizzes. That is fantastic. But most of us don't have the resources to do that. So we resort to another. There are so many kinds of online training out there. You just got to Google training. You could look for any topic there is: OSHA 10, confined space entry, rescue, and they're all going to pop up for a very, very low cost. But the trap is it's not site specific. And I caution you, if you're going to go that route, you're taking a big risk if you're not addressing the issues that you have on site. So if you are doing confined space entry and rescue, which why would you just do the entry and not the rescue? You definitely need to have a site specific program. Watch the video online, but you need to practice the rescue portion. You need to be familiar with what you're doing in-house. You need to have a program. You need to have forms. You need to have some kind of an assessment. So it's not as simple as just watching a video and getting to work. I have seen companies do that. Unfortunately, very large companies do that, and it's very risky. They're not addressing the key issues that we need to address, and the key risks that we're taking when we do a lockout tagout online, and we're not doing site specific training with how to actually lock and tag out our CNC machines, okay, or our punch presses. Those are still trainings that need to be further addressed when you do an online training. So there's so much that's not being trained on when we resort exclusively on online. But let's look at the benefit of an online training course. Let's say you do a HAZCOM and you really don't have a lot of chemicals, but it does, the training will tell you or teach you how to read a safety data sheet, which is fantastic. You want to know how to do that, but you got to go read your safety data sheet you have at your shop. So if you're using IPA, go read the safety data sheet on IPA and how to manage it properly. So there are subjects that, yeah, they're really good for online training. I think HAZCOM, lockout, tagout, confined space. There's so many, heat illness. You're going to get some good training. You're going to get the basics, but you're not going to get the site specific, and that needs to be supplemented somehow, some way at your location. So in-house training, hands down, is going to be the best. So developing your own in-house training program, putting together an IIPP or a safety manual, a lockout tagout program that is site specific, that addresses your in-house needs. So how do you do that? Well, it's going to take resources. of course, resources mean money and time, and maybe a cross-functional committee or a group that has expertise in their department. And in other departments, you get everybody together and you develop your site-specific program. That is, in my opinion, the best way to do training. I can't go in there and train just using my training material. I would need to know what you guys are doing in-house. And that's what we do. I'll go in and look at what you're doing, and then I'll make our training specific to what you're doing. But having your own developed program is going to be far more effective than what I can do. So there are some really big challenges to do an in-house training, but at the same time, it's going to be very effective once you get it done. The killer, let me go back here, the killer of these programs, and I'm seeing it, I see it more today than I have ever in my career, is turnover. So you have somebody that champions an in-house program and then they're gone. The next person comes in, doesn't even do it, or maybe does an easier version of it or whatever. They don't take the time to really understand the training curriculum and the program, and maybe they're not safety people. Maybe they're just, quality people. I don't know, but it doesn't get passed on effectively. So that's the other downfall. That's the biggest downfall when it comes to in-house training. So group training, of course, you want to get everyone together. That is primarily what ROI does, and most consultants will come in, they'll do an in-house training. Hopefully you'll make it site-specific as best as they can. And there are some limitations to doing this and that. We don't know what you guys know, their day-to-day risk. So we really need to spend time knowing your business and getting to understand it. And that's why good portion of our clients are subscription clients, where we see them regularly and we have a long-term relationship with them, and we train them, as things change, as headcount changes and departments get smaller, bigger, and new processes come in, we tailor the training to their specific needs. So group training, in-house training, those are the way to go. Now, there may be free or low-cost resources, and that's always the case with OSHA. OSHA has good resources, no doubt. So if you're a small business, utilize their resources. They have excellent program templates and training curriculum. Now, the downfall of that is you're not an expert. You're not a safety person. You're an expert in the business that you own. So there's the challenge. It does take time and effort. But again, I have seen some pretty good programs, very good programs written by small business owners. I see them quite often, actually. So it's not uncommon, but you have to put the resources into the programs. Now, that's where we run into the roadblocks, is they don't have the resources, or they start it and they never finish it, or maybe they do it and they just don't do the regular training. So there's plenty of resources out there. OSHA is a good resource of that. I don't necessarily recommend you reach out to OSHA for this burden, in the sense that they can come into your site and assist you, but they don't. I'm not 100% sure on this, but I know in California they don't provide training where we are, but in some states they may. They do provide training in other states like Nevada, and there may be other grants where you can send your employees, which I don't know too much about that. There are certain programs like UCSD. I think some of the bigger state UCs have programs that you could take advantage of, but you have to pay pretty much all of them, I think, at some fees. So there's that. Now, the Train the Trainer program, this is probably definitely the best way to go, especially when it comes to forklift training or powered industrial truck training. In my opinion, I think if you send your employee to a Train the Trainer program, you get them trained up, they come into your shop and they develop their own comprehensive training curriculum. This is fantastic and the best way to go. I encourage everybody to have their own in-house train the trainer program when it comes to powered industrial trucks. And you can do that for your other programs like lockout, tag out. You just have to be a competent person. And you can go to the OSHA website and see what a competent person is. I'm not going to go into that now. So that is a good idea. I like that idea. But again, turnover. It's just it really puts an end to these programs very quickly. So if you have a person that you want to send out to do that, I would send 2 of them. Just saying, because I see a lot of turnover when it comes to this. Now, the key here, and I say this probably every week, is prevention. So regular safety inspections, proactive maintenance, and a safety culture that you as a business owner, small business manager, whatever your case is, be responsible for your business and create a culture that embraces safety first, right? So I encourage you to take the time, do a risk analysis. What happens if we do have a serious injury? What happens if we do have an OSHA inspection? What is that going to cost me? I can tell you right now, if OSHA came in and you don't have an IIPP or a safety manual, if you don't have your OSHA 300 logs ready, if you don't have hazard assessments, just having hazard assessments will really benefit you, excuse me, for when an OSHA inspector comes in. But you got to have some way of proving to OSHA that you are doing some training, you're doing hazard assessments, and you're not just throwing your employees into the fire and say, oh, figure it out, just don't get hurt. That's not going to work. You have to take the time to do hazard assessments. You have to audit those hazards, and then you have to do training. And if you have employees violating any of your safety requirements, you need to write them up. And that is an area that I don't care what company I go to, it is always an issue, is holding employees accountable to their agreements within the workplace. So if you agree to wear safety glasses and you don't wear them, you're going to get written up. You're going to get sent home. And enforcement, unfortunately, is part of the safety culture. So you got to have enforcement. You got to have training and accountability and reward. Of course, reward is you don't have any injuries. We don't want any injuries. And this is not easy. Of course, it's not. But once you get going, I'm working with a client right now. They're a fairly large company in downtown LA. They are doing very, very risky work, And I've been working with them specifically on implementing a training program, hazard assessment program, and I'm meeting with them every month, actually twice a month, because they are really committed to this, and I applaud them for that. But they went from having multiple lost time injuries per year, and we haven't had one in well over 8 months. We started this, I believe, in October of last year. So they're doing auditing, they're doing hazard assessments, regular training, and their management team is totally committed to providing a zero injury workplace. And it's working. They're saving so much money in claims, not having to file claims and dealing with the clinics and all the other messes that injuries can cause. So I encourage you, be proactive. Take responsibility for your business. Do the hard work now, okay? Get somebody in your shop, do a hazard assessment, evaluate your needs, look for gaps, put programs in place, do training, be accountable to your people. You hold your people accountable. And I promise you, in a few months, you're going to start bearing fruit. And the fruit of having a really good, solid program is you're definitely going to save a ton of money in workers' comp claims. Okay, right off the top, workers' comp claims are going to go down. You can just, and workers' comp is really strange because you can have, a few small injuries a year, a few lost times a year, and you're not going to feel the bite until maybe 2 or 3 years later, whenever you got to renew your cycle every 3 years or so. And an injury you had 3 years ago could cause a 20% increase this year. So don't wait. Get responsible for what you're doing now, so you don't have to pay these high workers' comp claims. And I can't see it getting any easier. More and more people are suing. More and more people are just neglecting safety, getting hurt, maybe intentionally, maybe not. I don't know. But we see all kinds of different scenarios in all industries: construction, distribution, delivery. We're working in all these, government, we're working in all these fields, and we're seeing injuries are still happening, every day. 6,000 people a year are dying. Well, I encourage you, reach out to me, specifically call me, email me. I'm happy to help each of you. I'm committed to working and assisting small businesses create a zero environment for the workplace, because I care about what you're doing. I want you to have success, and I don't want safety to be an afterthought. Okay, we get the call, the next day after a serious injury, and that's the call that I don't like to get. I like to get the call that, hey, my name is so and so. I have a small business in Vernon, and I really would love for you to come out and do a safety analysis. That's the call that we want. That's the call that will help you as a small business owner succeed and not have to worry about workers' comp claims going up, employees getting upset, employees calling Sweet James. I don't want to give any work to Sweet James. You know what I'm saying, guys? We don't want to give any work to Sweet James, because he will sue, and you guys know all about that. I hope not. But anyways, my name is Jesse, ROI Safety Services. I hope you guys have a blessed long weekend. May God bless each of you. And again, my invitation for you to contact me directly on my cell number is 714-520